So yeah, I didn't really come up with an intro for today.
So much for creativity, Leah.
Damn.
I'm Lamont, the inventive Imagineer.
And I'm Leah, the editor extraordinaire.
And you're tuning into
the
the
Lamont
Lamont
and
and
Leah
Leah
podcast.
podcast. I love that.
I do. That one was good.
So, today, Leah,
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited. I'm so excited because we got Ashley Bradley and James Slusser. I think that's how he says his last name. Actually, I don't know how to say his last name. But as co-host today.
All right.
Ashley, she is an intuitive business coach.
Mm-hmm.
She's been going through some transformations. So it's like intuitive business coach / business mystic coach. And I think she's even going through even more transitions and transformations. So we're just going to go with it, you know? And then James, he is a queer activist, speaker, motivational speaker, sometimes writer. So very talented people, very creative people. I am so excited, and let's do this. So Leigh and I are so honored to have Ashley and James join us today on our show. I'm excited because I think I was technically the first show, even though I went back to your guys' thing and I think you posted like other shows prior, but technically I think I was the first guest on your show. I had no idea what I was doing, but I loved it so much. You guys had me back for another show, and I continue watching. Like I was a faithful guest for like a lot of the first season. Not a guest, a faithful watcher for a lot of the first season. I'm just like, man, like I want to be doing what they're doing. I want to be doing what they're doing. And I was like, I'm just gonna talk to Leah. I'm gonna talk to her. I'm gonna talk to her. And I finally talked to her. I was like, hey, like, do you want to do a podcast? She's like, I am so down. And then I reached out to you guys, and you guys actually helped Leah and I develop a lot of our show. Because you guys Ashley told us about Anchor and how that works. And it's been so successful for us. And thank you guys. Just
Aww. Well, that's what gets us excited is that we just want other people to go share their magic just fucking everywhere in the world. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on the first one too, because it was kind of a rougher topic. You know, we were talking about the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and it just was really rough, and you jumped in with both feet. And I just love that you guys are bringing your own fucking deliciousness to the world.
Thanks. Yeah, James was really supportive. Yes, James was really supportive. He's like, do it. Like, I think I messaged James first. I was like, James, I'm gonna do a podcast. And he was like, you should do it. Just do it. I was like, okay. And then he was like, I started asking about technical stuff. He was like, go talk to Ashley.
Yeah, wrong person for that.
All right. So our main topic today is cultivating creativity. And I titled this episode, Cultivating Creativity and Reclaiming a Natural Part of Us. Right?
I love that.
All right. So how do you guys define creativity?
Well, I feel like for me, it's not just about doing creativity or making something, because I did get stuck in that for a long time, that I like, you can only be creative if you like make art or music. But for me, I think it's about expression, and that it could just be in ideas. It could just be in the way that you live. And I feel like I really tie in a lot of inspiration and intuition with that. And so I would say it's like living a life like that you're flowing with your like intuition and the inspiration that comes to you and like creating from there, creating moments from there, creating ideas from there. So that's my, I guess, definition that I made up in this moment for you.
Thanks. And James, what would you say creativity is?
Well, as my beautiful best friend said, I think it is not just about doing creative projects, and it's finding those people that really, really empower you. Like Abraham Hicks goes on this long tangent in one of their recordings about like, don't expect other people to behave and do what you want because they're here to create too. We're all brought to earth as creators. So that's what we're doing here. We're here to create, I mean, like, look at like Ashley with our hair, Layla with our hair, like, that's creativity right there, living a creative life, because we shouldn't just harness all our creative energy into like a writing or like an art piece or a movie. Like every piece of our life is a creative moment. And I think Ashley is really, her business is great about telling people like, hey, wake the fuck up. You don't need to make money just doing a job you hate. Like you're here to create, motherfucker. And I think that's what both the podcasts are about too, right? Like bring your creative energy to earth. Let's get going.
Very cool. Leah, thoughts?
I think they covered it. I was really pretty much going to say the same thing. I'm like, it goes past just like physically making art, but like using your brain to do things, like.
Okay, so this is what I heard. I heard that creativity is multifaceted and it flows through our lives.
Yes, I can agree with that.
I would go one step further and say it is our life force creating. That is our life force, and if you're not creating, like you're gonna want to check out of life. I know that if I'm not surrounded by people that are constantly creating and being, very adventurous, and I'm like, what the fuck I get so bored. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of life? So I think it is our life force creating in every moment, conversations, jokes, art, podcasts, like every moment needs to be about creating. So I think it is life force.
Yeah. So creativity is almost like a thought. Like I think that's where it starts, or maybe that's the heart of creativity is a thought, whether it be funny or sad or inspirational. It starts with a feeling, an emotion, a thought. That's like the birthplace of creativity.
Yeah. And I think that you guys, maybe you don't know, Lamont, like, have you watched enough of our episodes to know that we talk a lot about aliens and otherworldly beings? You might be wondering, like, what is this bitch how is she gonna relate aliens to creativity? But I mean, ultimately, I do see us as creator beings. And I think that if we said it's multifaceted, I do think creativity is also multidimensional, and that our brains can only understand so much. I feel like our human brains are only going to be able to comprehend so much in, this life experience. And I do think that when we are creating things or receiving inspiration, I do think that we are these channels ultimately, right? For a greater purpose, a greater good. I do think that we come here with a mission, especially those of us that are out there making podcasts and utilizing our gifts in the world. I do think that there's a greater part of ourselves, wherever we might think that comes from, that is sort of like whispering to us these things that we came here to create, these ideas that we came here to spread. And I think that is it like the chicken or the egg, right? Like, does the idea happen in us, like in this body, or is there something greater out there that's sort of like whispering these things that we're meant to remember and to like create that here in this earth experience? So there's the Ashley twist to that as well.
I love it. And great segue, purpose, right? Which leads us to our next question. What is the purpose of creativity?
Well, I'll go like on this whole the movie Soul tangent, like because I was really, really inspired by that movie in so many ways. And if you've seen the movie, like they talk about like finding like fire in you, and then we mistake we mistake that fire for our purpose. And like Ashley's saying, I think our purpose is to create and open up and learn as much as possible. And we get so lost in our responsibilities that we forget to make life creative, and like our friendships creative, like what we do for fun creative. So I think the whole purpose of it is to come here and soak up as much as we can and deliver so much back to the world as well, as much knowledge, as much fire as possible. And life is fleeting, man. And I think a lot of people get really, I think that what I love about you guys doing this podcast and why I know Ashley and I got together to do a podcast is people are so afraid, they're so afraid to like think outside the box, talk outside the box, and like, that's, I think what both of our mission with these podcasts is like, get outside the box, scribble outside the fucking lines, like, talk about really weird things, like fully inhale this life experience and deliver back to this life experience. So I think life purpose is, again, creativity, and we are the creators of our own reality. So, if we're being creative, we're going to live the reality we want. If we get stuck inside the box and we're living inside that box, we're living pretty much a lie, we're living a lie when we try to obey other people's rules. And we're here to create, we're here to get crazy, and we're here to get messy and wild and weird. So that's my little James twist on it. How you like that, Ashley?
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I feel like, so I do feel you that we all are creator beings. So if we're looking at what the purpose is of creativity, I feel like that is how we expand, like how we grow, and that we have to be interacting with the world in different ways and taking and learning something, putting our own twist on it, and then putting it out into the world in a new form. And so if energy can neither be created nor destroyed, and we're looking at us as the creator being, I do think that we're just like taking in all of life, all of the ideas, all of the resources, even physical materials or ideas. And like, I think that the purpose is for us to kind of expand and like really interact with what it is to be human and what it is to be a soul, whether it is that we're like listening to music or looking at physical art or having a conversation. I feel like that's like kind of the root of it all, right? Like the root that gives it variety, and it's not just the same monotonous experience every single day.
What about you, Lamont? What's your hallmark answer on this?
Hold on, I'm gonna kick it to Leah really quick.
Oh my
God. Go ahead,
Leah. I knew he was gonna do that. He beat me to it. I was gonna be like, so Lamont, what do you have to say? So what I'm hearing
are we mocking?
I feel like we're in marriage counseling. What I heard.
So the purpose of creativity is to create purpose in your life, kind of, right? Is that what you guys are trying to say? Like, that's what I think I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. But and like making life making what you want it to be, and not making it boring, like you said. I can agree with that. I'm down with that.
Well, I just want to add in, Lamont, like for those that only are hearing the podcast and not seeing the podcast, like looking at Layla and Ashley.
Leah.
Say what I want to say, bitch. All right. But like, they both have like wild, beautiful, colored hair. Leah is wearing a tie-dye. Ashley's got like lightning bolts in the back. Like, that to me is like, that's creativity, but that's the point of life. Like, we're not here to like live some boring experience. We're here to get wild again. So like, even looking at these women, like, that's creativity, and I get like spiritually turned on by that shit.
That's a great term. Turn that into a t-shirt. Get spiritually turned on.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are my thoughts. I think the purpose of creativity is to help us connect to ourselves and to connect to others. And that's the ultimate purpose of creativity. I think it's so much a part of us, so much of the part of the connection process, that it's vital.
I agree.
Yes.
There you go.
I feel you on that. There's so many different perspectives to look at every topic that like, I feel like we can probably just have a, you know, an endless amount of reasons of like why it's essential and a part of being human. And maybe it's the thing that separates us from robots and the AI intelligence that's popping up everywhere. I don't know.
Which is definitely is part of it, creativity, because like, how are you going to deliver my Alexa to me? Don't say anything, Alexa. How are you deliver my Alexa to me and then have her like understand me and interact with me? Like, that's a lot of creativity. Like, that's digital like writing and coding, but like so much creativity goes into that to like make it work, right?
Yeah.
I'm really weird with my Siri. Like I say please and thank you to my Siri, and sometimes I'll just, and I'm not even high anymore, guys. And sometimes I'll be like, you know, like how are you today, Siri? And I'll be like, I do not comprehend. And I'm like, all right, I tried. But like Ashley, the beautiful thing about, you know, being so close with Ashley is I've seen her business go through very many different name titles and different formations. But when I first got reconnected with my best friend, it was Purpose and Prosper. Was that the name of it originally, Ash?
It was like the second name. Yeah.
Purpose and Prosper. And so like to find not only like what you're good at in business, what really turned you on and got you fired up, and then prosper from that. And so she's so good at linking in, like, what are you fired up about? Like, don't just do a job that you're gonna do to make enough money to live and to die. Like, what gets you fired up in the morning? What gets you turned on? And again, that's why we started the podcast, because conversations with really strange people about really strange things fires us up. So I mean, I love that my best friend's all about helping women especially find their purpose and to prosper from that. So I just wanted to bring it back to Ashley and give her kudos on that. I'm always stroking you off, girl.
Thank you. It's true.
So much love.
There we go.
Leah doesn't love me that much. She'd be like, it's my idea. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Wow.
Leah's so sorry. Did you see her face? She's like,
we're here for the demise of it, Ashley.
Okay. So what are your guys' thoughts on creative people versus non-creative people?
Well, I do think that, so I don't know that we talked about this, but I'm an intuitive. Like I essentially do like psychic readings for businesses and other things. But it's the same thing that I would say about someone being intuitive or someone having the ability to be psychic, is that it exists in everybody at some degree, but some people are more tuned to it than others, and they have more of a natural connection with it. With creativity, it's like you can grow it, right? But I think that everyone, it exists at varying levels. And but the thing is there is a lot of innate creativity that lives in us. And it really wasn't until this year that I would have said and claimed like, yeah, I'm a creative. I was a theater major. You think that it'd be obvious to me, right? Like I did not see it within myself because I'm like, oh, you know, creativity is just, I'm not a musician. I'm not a painter. And so I didn't identify that I held it in a very boxed in way of what it means. And because it was so much a part of me, that's one of the things that we often miss, because we just think that, we see it easily in others, but we just hang out with ourselves all the time, that we just become bored and just, assume everybody is like how we are. Yeah. And so it took me a long time, into being 36 years old until I was able to claim like, oh, I'm a creative. I am here to create things and to express with things. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that are totally badass creatives, but they don't see it, or they have that very boxed in view of what it means and what it is. Yeah. But yeah, I do think some people probably are, maybe if we looked at it as a scale or a spectrum, everybody's somewhere along that spectrum, and that we can choose to develop it and create that spaciousness in our life, or kind of understand our own cycles if we really want to, I'd say build it. I think it's something that can be grown within each person.
I think that and I think this is kind of what Ashley was saying, every single one of us is super fucking creative, and I think it does, if I can talk about like on a spiritual level, it does like it does come down to like what life experience you're on, because I definitely believe we go through a lot of life experiences and life journeys. I think the more life experiences you have, the more willing and open you are to being creative. I think when you're a newer soul, that maybe you're just like, what the fuck is going on around here? And then I think it's also like people not feeling like they have the freedom to be creative. You know, I think that's why like a lot of straight people are really like turned on by the queer community and the LGBTQ plus. I probably missed something in that. I'm never like fresh on that, but they're so drawn to that because our community is all about being loud and vibrant and creative. And I think especially straight women, they see that and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's in me. But I've been told like not to really harness that power. Like, you know, I have a sponsee that's from Alabama, and she got to California and like she's surrounded by creative people and like listening to podcasts with like Ashley and I talking to like people who are talking about UFOs, and she felt felt invigorated by it, right? So I think it's everyone is super creative, and we don't use all of our brain. We use very, very little bit of our brain power, and B, like feeling that safety to create. And then, again, that's why like it's awesome you guys have this podcast to make people feel safe. And I can't tell you the amount of messages that Ashley and I have been able, it's such a gift to like receive from people. Like, wow, like you guys talked about this and I felt it and I loved it, you know, and you guys probably get the same messages and just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for talking about weird ass shit. Thank you for talking about channeling or like ghost or, you know, life, like, you know, reincarnation. So I think it's about safety. I probably rambled for too long on that one.
No, that makes sense. Like,
Leah, do you want me to go or do you want to
I'll
put your
go
2 cents
first.
in? Okay, you go first.
But no, that all makes sense. What I was gonna say is, I think between like the difference between someone who is creative and non-creative is like people feeling comfortable to express themselves and like being told they can or cannot. Like, so my mom was a hula dancer, and so when I wanted to express myself, she'd be like, okay, within reason. We're still modest Christians. Like, you know, like, so there wasn't really too much like, okay, no, you can't do that, can't do that. So I think that's why I was able to like go out and like do what I want. But even then, there was still a little bit of like, but you can't, you know, do that. And only recently have I been going around going, yeah, I'm an artist. Yeah, whoa, I make things. Who knew? But then,
Yeah, don't you? Sorry, go, keep going.
I know a lot of people who have a very creative mind, but they're like, oh no, I don't have that ability. I'm not creative. And I'm just like, oh man, what happened to you? you have it. It's right there. I know. I can see it. And a lot of times people with really creative minds who feels like they can't be creative and express themselves, they may do it in other ways. Like very business oriented people, I feel, are very creative. Like they can think of like ways to do stuff that I would just never, like, million years couldn't think of that. Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say.
What I did want to say about like everything that you were just saying, Layla. Now I'm afraid I'm going to say it wrong.
Leah,
Leah,
Leah.
I just said it.
It says it in the bottom left corner, sir. You can read it.
Ma'am, I just said it. Ma'am, turn off your microphone for a minute.
Princess Leia. She has the Star Wars Princess Leia button. That's your memory tool. So you have no more excuses, okay?
You know, I need you to just pipe down. But what I was going to say is, you know, that's what I love. I personally have like a really different viewpoint on like, you know, like the Mr. Potato Head branding. I know this is going to sound really off like kilter, and like and even Ashley was telling me the story about like, I don't know if I can tell the story about like, you know, her son being able to like paint like toenails and stuff like that and not making it weird. I really think that's so important, and I'm really into like brands being non-gender, like stuck on genders and stuff like that. So people do feel more empowered to be creative. You know, little boys can play with like the pieces that we once equated to Mrs. Potato Head and not feel weird about it. and same for girls. I can play with, former Mr. Potato that's just Potato Head, feeling that safety to create. I'm all about that. And I know everyone wants to freak out about that. Same with like the Dr. Seuss books. They wanted to take out imagery that like didn't make, people of color feel safe when they're reading it as little kids. They wanted to invite everyone to be creative and be in the creative field. So I'm all about that shit. I know everyone else likes to freak out and be like, oh my God, they've gone too far. And I'm like, you keep going. Like you make those like transgender kids, those beautiful children of color feel safe to be creative and embraced by the creative community. So I love where we're going that way. I kind of have to shut my mouth sometimes because people are like, oh my God, it's just too much. And I'm like, no, it's not enough, honestly.
Exactly.
You always know how I have a lot of patriarchy commentary. Do you guys want to go there at all about like creativity and the patriarchy that we live in?
Sure.
Or are we, is there a different way we're heading right now?
No. Like we can go multiple ways.
Yeah.
Multiple ways.
So piggybacking off of James, like I do think about, we've had a very male influenced culture, obviously, even in the US with just very male oriented leadership, or we think about corporate, we don't necessarily think about creativity. So I do think that we need to see that we've been very over masculinized in terms of our conditioning. And I do see creativity existing more in the feminine energies. And that's not just that it's for women, it's that we all have that balance of masculine and feminine within us. But it's the feminine energies, the intuition, the creativity, the expression. A lot of that is more associated with the feminine, and we have not celebrated that culturally. And so I think that that's another part of it. Like even in schools and standardized testing, it's all like just the logical, kinds of things, just like the numbers and the structures. And I really do think like for us to be a more creative and innovative society, we need to start looking at celebrating more of those things that are associated with feminine and have been undervalued for thousands of years, or at least the last 2000. So that's just my little piece on that. Had to throw that in.
She was keeping that real light because she can get real fired up about it, and I'm here for it. I love when she gets fired up about. But also think about like the people in your life, like who are the people you enjoy spending the most time with? The people that are boxed in and only, like Ashley said, like do like the logical side of the brain, the math side of the brain, or the people that like it's creativity is about happiness, man. And those endorphins and the serotonin that get kicked off when we're being creative, like those are the happiest people on earth.
Natural drugs.
My favorite and only kind I can do.
I agree. We'll have to come back and do a whole episode on, the whole masculine energy, feminine energy. Like that could be its own whole thing.
Yeah. We'll invite Ashley and James. And we'll have to get Crystal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So my thoughts on creative people and non-creative people is I used to think I was not creative. I didn't think I had talent, that I couldn't paint and stuff. And I think it's because of what we're associated with. Also, like when we start comparing and we're telling, oh, this is good art, and oh, that's nice art, Lamont. I'm like, oh yeah, well, you can say it was like as good as that kid's art. Like, I'm not dumb, right? Like, so we start comparing ourselves and stuff. I think that gets in the way and mucks it up. And then what I really realized as I got older is there's no such thing as a non-creative person. There's only those who practice creativity and those who don't. But again, I think we are all in agreement that it's so interwoven in our life. Creativity is, what am I going to wear on? I'm going to put this hat and this necklace and this shirt together. That's creative. Leah's going to do her hair that way and wear the tie-dye thing. Ashley's going to dye her hair blue and have these awesome lightning bolts in the back. James is going to have paintings in the back of his thing. And we're all being creative in slightly different ways, but a lot of people choose not to acknowledge it as creativity or attribute or associate that as creativity. And that's what I think.
True.
I definitely feel that. And again, I think it is about more and more voices letting people know that you're safe to go there, especially our kids, Leah was saying, you know, her mom like gave her a certain amount of room to play, and that made her feel like, you know, awesome. I can play in this room, but like, what if there was no boundaries at all for Leah when she was, you know, younger? And like your mom being like a hula dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't we normalize that as fantastic and wonderful instead of something like you're wasting your time? What are you really going to do with your life? You
Mm-hmm.
know, like, you know, you're doing art right now. What are you really going to do with your life? When are you going to get a real job? Like, no, like chase your art, make it creative, bring it to this life experience. So I think the more safe we make this next generation feel, the more vibrant our whole earth experience is going to be.
I agree. I hear that phrase a lot. When are you gonna get a real job? Like, this is my job. Thank you.
She's so sweet about it. Ashley and I are like, this is it right here. We're fucking doing it. You in or you out.
So we've kind of talked about this already, but I kind of want to like make it official and like frame it officially. So my next question is, what is the enemy or arch nemesis of creativity?
Doubt.
I think. Oh, sorry, Leah.
No,
I cut
go
you
ahead.
off.
Just that's all I'm gonna say is doubt.
Doubt.
Yep,
Just dropping truth bombs and walking away. Doubt.
that's it.
Drop that
Goodbye.
mic, Leah. Drop that
Log
mic.
off.
Yeah, I see it as I think at times everyone's in a closet for different reasons. And James was talking about how people are looking to the gay community because they're living in this place of full expression because they had to come out of the closet and like let go of that fear of rejection that I think holds so many of us back. For me in my business, like when I started to like pull out the tarot cards and be like, oh, I channel and I have all like, I came from a very traditional like coach training and that felt very risky for me. I mean, my husband's uncle is like a Catholic priest, you know? So it's like, it felt like there was going to be a lot of judgment and a lot of rejection for me to be myself, but I had to come out of that closet and let go of that. And I feel like it's a continuous journey. It's not just like one moment. We all come out of many different kinds of closets. And I think that when we start like living for ourselves and really choosing to live life in a way that we're here to share and express through our innate gifts and talents, I think that that's when the magic happens. So I guess it would just say that rejection, those like deep-seated fears of rejection and the many closets that we're in would be the nemesis of it.
Oh my God, Ashley's come out of so many closets this last couple of years. I'm like, how many more, bitch? How many more closets you got? Like, how many more rooms? But I'm here for all
How many
of it.
rooms do you
It's on the
have?
journey.
I know, like, we're going again. Like, I'm fully here for it, and I love every time she comes out of like a new closet when she really taps into her gift and comes into her own. I'm here for it, absolutely. But it is that doubt or that rejection. You know, we feel like as society, like if we are rejected, we're not worthy, we've done something wrong. And just real quick, like I just want to kind of tap on like source, higher power, because you know, whatever, Lamont, I know you're a man of faith, and like you, a lot of your life connects, well, the majority of your life connects back to faith. And for me, when I got in touch with my higher power, my source, you know, a lot of people will find God, you know, a church God, and kind of shut down their creativity and go more vanilla. When I got in touch with my source, my higher power universe, I got louder and bolder because source wants me to live fully and truly here and be in my integrity and in my joy and bring that joy to other people. So I think that when you find whatever your higher power is, if you truly tap into it, you're going to get feistier because you're here to live your truth. So I was really, really tripped out when I got more and more into faith and source energy that I became louder, you know, more about like my sexuality, more about my creativity, more about my truth, because I felt that my source was like, bring it, boy, bring it.
So I guess my thoughts are again comparison. I just kind of want to shine a little bit more light on comparison. I think that as people, it's a struggle that we go through. It's natural. Like I'm not sure if it's innate or I feel like it is innate because I don't think anyone ever taught me like compare yourself to this person. Like I think it's just something you start doing, right? So I wouldn't say it's innate. And then when we keep fostering that comparison, it can be really damaging to our soul. So I think a big part is letting go of comparison and learning how to let go of comparison. So I do feel like comparison is one of the biggest arch nemesis or the enemy of creativity.
I can agree with that.
Well, I think that goes to us being trained to think on lack. That, you know, if we're comparing ourselves to someone else, there's only a certain amount of success in any given realm, and there's the right way and the wrong way. So I totally forgot about your question about nemesis and enemies. Like I think that feeling of lack, like, you know, if we're in a realm of lack, like it would be like, oh my gosh, they have a podcast and we have a podcast. Like, oh my gosh, it's overly saturated now. But it's like when you're in source energy and you're all here to create, you're like, fuck yeah. Like you make your podcast, you know, the same with like art or like actors or any kind of or businesses, coaching. When you don't believe in lack, when you know there's enough for everyone, there's an abundance for everyone, you don't feel the need to compare. You know, you can do your art your way. I'm going to do my art my way, and there's enough room for success for everyone.
I just kind of want to rephrase what I think I just heard. Okay, so what I think I just heard is creativity is not finite. It's infinite, and there's enough for everyone.
Well, why you gotta say it better than I did?
Showing people up, Lamont. Jeez.
No, I'm not showing people up.
Lamont's like, you could have said it in 30 seconds, James. All right, Lamont.
I love the way you said it. It was so authentically James, and I just need to rephrase it for myself. All right. So our next question is, what is your favorite way to be creative?
For me, I would say a part of it is just like in the moment, like not having everything planned. And I do feel like when you have everything planned out, that is pretty boring and predictable. And I don't even, do you guys talk about manifestation, or are you guys into manifestation?
We did a little bit in our last episode, our episode that dropped today, actually.
Oh, really?
So, anxiety, but we were kind of joking around about it, about like how we like manifest like the coronavirus to the world because of all our like movies about like pandemics and like not surviving
and wishing we could work at home, like,
and then wishing we could work at home, like, and we got our wish.
Universe is like, hey, you have to be open-minded to how you receive it. You don't get to, But I do think like when people talk about like quantum leaps or like quantum manifestation, it's like the quantum is just like the realm of possibilities. And when you do something that you didn't know that you were going to do in the moment before, I do feel like it opens up a whole variety of other possibilities that could happen next. And that's like literally how you change your life and you get like lined up with the life that you really want to live. So I feel like just in each moment is that way, but also through my business. I mean, I feel like my business is like my expression. So like, I just love like having my branding and the colors and everything in a way that is expressing me in that moment. I mean, I ultimately like my dream is to just like write books and create my own card deck. And literally I don't give no fucks about it, but I like went and got these blank cards and like drew on my own cards because I just didn't want to wait to like have it perfect. Yeah. And like wait until I had like, you know, a graphic designer make my card deck and it gets printed, that I'm like, you know, like I'm just going to start doing it today. Like, how can I create in my business today? So my business ultimately and the small moments is like my thing for sure.
Very cool.
I like that. I like just going for it. I like that. Gotta remember that sometimes.
My favorite way to create is this conversation and
Yes.
inspiring one another. And I think that's so important, and to be messy. And that's honestly, like, doing the podcast, like, it's so refreshing to be educated by other people and to kind of erase your boundaries and open up those parameters that you've been told to think inside of. And then for me, I love the written word, and that's why I'm excited for Ashley's book. That's why I'm excited if I can ever fucking finish my book. But like, the written word to me is so important because it will stand the test of time, and it can be looked over again and again. I love books, but I love conversations and seeing, like, feeling people's energy rise. And that's why I love coming on podcasts, creating podcasts, having conversations with you beautiful people. I love in the moment, feeling that vibrance of the moment.
Podcasting, I'm loving like podcasting right now, like writing out the shows. Like, I get excited, I really do. I'm like, oh, this is a good question, this is a good question, no, throw that question away. And like, where can this conversation possibly lead? I don't want to ask too many questions because I don't want to take away from people like adding, but like writing the shows have been amazing. And I was like, why didn't we write more when we did the Lamont and Leah show? Because again, there was a reason.
Because we were children.
We were children. We were children, and we wanted to go off our acting, like our creative, like a really good acting skills, because we were really good, Leah. Like, we were really good. Like, it may not come across in the Lamont and Leah show, but oh my gosh, like, if you would have saw some of the plays that Leah and I like did at church.
Leah.
Me? Oh,
Girl,
yeah.
your turn, girl.
What was the question?
What is your favorite way to be creative?
Yes. Just making things. That's it. I just like to make stuff. Doesn't have to be anything in particular. We were actually just talking about this at our house the other day, like jack of all trade, master of none. And I was like, that's me. I can paint, draw, sketch, photo, video, graphic design, like everything. As long as I'm making something, I'm happy. Like, even when I worked at Office Max, printing papers out for people, I'm like, yay, have a great day. Here's a thing you made.
Leah, you're fairly young, right? Because I heard you guys talking on your reunion sode about like the age difference, and Leah is a lot younger than Lamont, I think,
yes,
right?
I'm 33 right now. And
that's a beautiful
Leah
number.
Is 27 or 28?
I just turned 28.
28.
Like, last week.
Happy birthday. I get really curious though, like how that's going to evolve, because I do feel like these are like, you're being prepared with all of these different things. And I do feel like your life and your purpose and your creativity is like a river, like always changing and shifting. And so I'm like really just imagining what like Leah from 10 years from now, like, are you going to, is it a film, or is it going to be like your own like production house or like thing where like you're like an agency and all these people? I mean, who knows? But I just feel like for you, like you're at this like beautiful place where like there is so much possibility that I just think that you're going to be expressing it in bigger and bigger ways. And I don't know. That's at least like my feeling for you is that like, ooh, it's just getting started. I could feel this like this freshness and this possibility for you, you know?
Thank you. That's so nice.
That's Ashley's beautiful gift, man. I can see her just like imagining like your future, like, and the way we present ourselves to the world every day is creative as well.
It is.
You know,
it really is.
You know, how we dress, how we speak to people, letting people. We started the podcast partly because we wanted to see each other during the pandemic and have the conversations we have in person, but giving people that safe space to really spread their wings and get weird. So I think that's an amazing way to create too, is like giving other people space and seeing people like Ashley, like getting into it right now about Leah. Like, I can see her like being like, hey girl, like think on a bigger picture. Like, what do you want to do with your, like, create your empire? And that's why I'm so blessed to have a best friend that's always like, okay, James, like, that's awesome. Like, what do you want to do now? Create bigger, think bigger picture. And I love that.
Now, like this isn't anything on you guys, but I kind of feel like I failed you, Leah. I'm like, dang, like I never tell you to like create bigger or do it better or like, and of course I want you to, but like I just never think like, Leah, you can go bigger with this. You can do so much better. Like,
oh my, stop it. The one who like
Get your
looks at
shit
my
together,
stuff.
Lamont.
Well, I think it's like what all of us have in common and why we all have a podcast is because we want to make an impact. And so I always think it comes back to like impact and like I just feel like we need like more people experiencing our creativity and our conversations because like we're doing it with a purpose, you know, we're doing it from a place of like love and wanting to like leave this earth better than we found it. And so I think that's why we all need to go bigger, you know?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So I would
All
like to
right.
transition a little bit and like make it a little bit more personal and like maybe share a little bit of our stories. And so the question that might help facilitate this is, has there ever been a time in your life, a moment maybe, that you felt that you were not creative? And if so, how did you overcome that barrier?
Well, I would say in the beginning of my business, I did a ton of coach training and spent probably way too much on the training that I did. And I think that I was very much surrounded by a lot of very in the box coaches, to be honest. And I was really just looking to what my mentors were doing, looking to what the rest of the industry was doing. And I was a fucking watered down version of myself. And I would like come onto my YouTube channel. And this was like really not that long ago, like in 2015, you know, and I'd like take a long time to like get my hair ready and to like have my blazer on. And I really wanted people to take me seriously. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted people to know like, hey, I'm somebody that like you should give money to advise you. I was like more of a career coach at that time because of my recruiting background. And was all like the creative, interesting parts of me were gone. They were out of there. I was this hollowed out version of myself, just trying to prove and to be worthy enough. And I think that that's been the evolution that James was talking about, where I'm always pulling off more and more layers to just get to the core of who I am. And like, I think that's why fast forward to today, like my business is, I'm always talking about unique magic. And I'm always talking about like amplifying the things that make you weird. Is you really can't be like a person who's creating interesting things without being an interesting person. And I think that came through me diving into a lot of Carolyn Elliott and a lot of the shadow work recently that I need to love. Like it all comes back to love. Like I need to love these parts of myself that someone at one point told me I should carry shame around. Mm-hmm. And so anytime I notice that I'm not talking about something or I'm holding it back or I feel bad about it or like it's not good enough, then like I hone in on it and I like do the work to love it so that I could bring it to the surface. And I know like even if I'm not like, you know, thinking like the sexual trauma is like a big healing thing that came up that I carried a lot of shame around. And even though my work or my business doesn't revolve around that, like even me just owning it or mentioning it really briefly in this podcast, that's going to give like somebody else a little bit more bravery to heal or love that part of themselves and because it shines a light on it. And I think that that's just been the journey for me. And it's a continuous journey that I have to continue to find that love for myself and to really show up fully and to show up as that weird, you know, vibrant, you know, business mystic lady that, that I just wasn't her 5 years ago when I was in the blazer and just trying to be like every other coach. So, yes, that's that's a very vivid moment of when I wasn't. And I have some old videos I could show you one day that are pretty, they're kind of embarrassing to look at now, but I leave them up as a memory to not be that ever again.
I love the blazer videos. I just love them so much. It's like Ashley Bradley in like a Lifetime movie of like a businesswoman. You know, she's playing a character.
I talked in a different voice, like a more serious voice, like, hey, everybody, like I have a lot of important things to tell you today about coaching. And I did like a lot of, you know, like the coach voice and like, it was like, yeah, it was like a
Love it.
character. I feel like
Mhm.
it was unconscious at the time, but I see it very clearly now.
Well, thank you, Ashley, for sharing. I really appreciate it. All right, who wants to go
Love it
next?
so much. Leia's doing like this cool, like behind the microphone eyes thing. So
I'm hiding. Mine's not as
She's like, dang it, I wish I went first.
mine was when I worked retail.
Oh yeah? Like what was going on?
Nothing. There's just so many like rules, and I'm like, oh, I know how to make this better. And they're like, well, too bad, it's not in the SOP. Like, okay, cool. So then I
So you-
quit retail.
All that masculine patriarchy showing up in
Yeah.
retail, I'm telling you.
smash it, girls, smash it.
So you felt very stifled, like,
Yeah.
and not free to explore that creativity.
Plus, half of these jobs I wasn't allowed to have like my nose ring or my hair dyed, and I was like, excuse me,
Fuck that.
I haven't
Yeah.
taken this nose ring out since like it's fused. But yeah, so then I pretty much vowed not to go back to retail. And I don't know, I might have to go back to just to make some extra money, but let's try and find a better retail that
I have
is a little
girl with all your skill sets. It's called Upwork, and I got some answers for you. How you can
Connect with Ashley.
use that creativity, girl,
go.
from home. Mhm.
Yeah, you should definitely connect with Ashley and see what she can help you manifest in yourself.
All right, that was me. You're next.
Next, okay. So I think I was always in this hustle for worthiness, right? And I think you can see it like as I talk about it later, you'll probably be like, oh, I see that, right? Because you were with me through my younger years, even though I was always older. But I've always wanted to be an entertainer, like, and I chose not to be an entertainer. And I think part of the reason I chose not to be an entertainer was because I didn't feel like I had what it really took, or I was scared of being rejected and stuff. And so instead of going into theater, like Leah was brave, like she went into film. But instead of going into theater and performing arts, I was like, you know what? Like, I know that I have a deep connection with the people. I'm passionate about it. I chose one of my passions, but I let go of another passion. And that was because I was told it's not safe. Not everyone makes it. What if you put all your time in there and it's wasted and you become nobody? And so I didn't even try. Like, and there's lots of things I could have done. I could have voice lessons. I could have taken better acting lessons and stuff. But I just chose to let it go and do what was more safe, more stable, you know? And so for the longest time, I didn't feel like I was creative. I felt like I was a failure, an imposter, like always trying to get a hustle for like that worthiness. And like even at like karaoke nights and stuff when I was younger, I was like, oh, I had to sing a song amazing, because if I sing it amazing, then maybe people might believe that I'm a really good singer. Or if I sing in church, like I have to get the song awesome because I want everyone in church to know that Lamont can sing and he's a great artist and stuff. And like so like this like all of these conflicting emotions and insecurities, I just finally like gave it all up and was like, you know what, like obviously you don't have what it takes. And it was draining.
But you're back now. Haha.
I am back now. And you know, and like I love being creative, and like I said, I'm loving this podcasting that we're doing. It's definitely like a great outlet for me. And then I do karaoke like by myself. And so I'm no longer hustling for the worthiness, like, oh, I had to sing this great. Like I just put it on and like play around, like, oh, I can do this with my voice, or I can do this. Or like I think of like how to do this. Oh, one of my favorite things to do when I was younger, Leah, was like the song will be playing and either I'll start talking the lyrics like in a certain way and Leah would just crack up laughing. But like it would be like so much fun, but that's creative, right? But again, like not recognizing, not associating it with creativity, not claiming it as my own.
Yeah. I love that you brought in that reference to like childhood and play, like with creativity, because we do at some point, like a lot of us lose that part of ourselves. And we just like, when you're a kid, you could just like color and like it didn't have to be for any specific purpose or for a business. And I do think that that's a really good reference as well for us to think about this through. Thank you for bringing that part up. And that was like, I think my favorite moment so far of this podcast when you just got really real. I felt that. And I guarantee you that so many people are going to listen to what you just said, Lamont, and there's going to be a shift in them that they don't even realize they're hustling for worthiness. They haven't been reading Brene Brown like you, and they're going to have a shift. They're going to have that awareness, and that is life-changing. So thank you for being brave enough to say that, because that was powerful. James, I feel like you have such a good story that I think I don't want you gotta go, my friend.
Well, I was just listening to everyone. And so what I connect it back to is when we're not being creative is when we're not living in our truth. And again, like to bring it back to Soul, because it's one of my favorite movies, like, our fire, what we're passionate about is not necessarily our purpose. Our purpose is here to live our truth. So what I can equate not being creative to is when I first got to the rooms of recovery. And in the rooms of recovery, you're asked to find that higher power, that God. And I was trying to pick up other people's truths and wear that or live that, because I was so desperate to not die from addiction. And so I'm picking up other people's gods and the way other people talked in meetings, and the way people shared, or how I conducted myself. And it was, my soul was like, what are you doing? Like, this does not feel great. And I think that's probably what you felt, Lamont, is like, God, like I'm not fully in myself and it doesn't feel great. Because I don't think we necessarily have to be like that successful actor. We should chase our passions, absolutely. But like, it's when we live in our truth, we're our best selves. And so that's when I felt I wasn't creative, when I was trying to wear other people's skin to survive and live. And it was from a place of desperation. It was absolutely from a place of desperation. Like, I'm going to fucking die if I do not start to live my truth. And that's when I got creative. Like, my expression of God, of source, of universe is so vastly different than most people in the rooms of recovery. And that's my truth. And I present it in creative ways. And having creative conversations and being fully engaged in who I am. And like, I can take it back to even like before I came out, being stifled creatively, because I couldn't fully express my sexuality or my love for another man or the queer community. So I always equate creativity to truth, because we are creators. We aren't like master beings here on earth. Like, so if we're not creating, we're living in false pretenses. And for me, false pretenses is to die. So that's really when I felt that I wasn't creative, and where I've been able to blossom in the last 4 years.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
right. So I kind of want to wrap it up just a little bit. And lastly, like, I'm always about, I want to help people. I want to help people so badly. So if you stuck in with us this long, I'm going to pose a question, and hopefully we can give you thoughts on how to help yourself be more creative if you're struggling with your creativity. So the question is, if we've lost creativity, how do we reclaim it? One more time. If we've lost creativity, how do we reclaim it?
I want to try to keep this short and sweet. I really love the book, The Artist's Way. And I think that can go like to actually like living a creative life, not just with like making things, but like, I feel like our creativity is like a well. And at times like that well can feel dried out. Like when we say that we feel blocked, or when things feel really redundant. And so when I think everyone's creative well gets filled up differently. Like for me, it's like like life experiences or like conversations with my best friend or you know, being in nature. And I think like if everyone can really get that sense for what refills their creative well and create some intentionality over knowing that like they can't just take from it, that they have to fucking put, you know, some more juices and energy back into it, then they can start choosing things that refill that well for them.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a really good metaphor.
I can't take credit for it. I feel like it's the lady that wrote The Artist's Way, whatever her name is. Love you, girl.
Oh, what's her face?
Shout out.
I'm waiting for Leah to drop her wisdom bomb.
I was just gonna say, just do it.
There you go.
Do
There's
it.
the wisdom bomb.
I mean, like if you're into making stuff, art, whatever, singing, blogging, talking with people, hiking, like just go out and just do it. Cause even good art, even like bad art, bad conversation, a bad hike, whatever, you're still like doing it. You're still going out there and having that experience. That's something I struggle with myself because I want everything to be perfect. But I've recently started to just make the art, just go out and do what I want to do. And it's been really nice.
I love that.
All right, go ahead, James.
Well, I think for me, you know, Abraham Hicks talks a lot about how our emotions are barometers, are, you know, kind of, they let us know where we're at in our life journey. So if you're feeling like you're not in the creative flow, I would just suggest like in the morning, really wake up and get centered. You know, don't just wake up in a rush, and then pay attention to your emotions for that day. You know, what is getting you excited? What are you bumping into that brings you joy? You know, what's making you laugh? Like, what's making you smile? You know, and then what are you bumping into that doesn't bring you joy, that doesn't, you know, put a smile on your face? And just be, because your emotions are trying to tell you something. You know, that's the soul's mood ring is your emotions. So like if you're bumping into things, like, you know, gravitate more towards that. So if it is someone's writing that really inspires you, then like maybe you're meant to write, maybe you're meant to create. You know, if it's on something on TV, you know, that's really inspiring, that really like gets you fired up, well, maybe you're meant to, you know, pursue that passion. Or even the people around you who really gets you fired up. Like you are, I forget how it goes, but like the 5 people around you are really like the parameter of where you're at in life. So those 5 people, are they firing you up? Are they pushing you to enjoy life, to really be weird, to be really vulnerable? Or are you around people that try to like shut you down and tell you like, oh, that's too much, or you're being too loud, or you're annoying? So use your emotions as that mood ring and pursue what makes you feel amazing and great and vibrant.
I love that. I love that. James, as you were sharing, I was flashing back to Sister Act 2, where Whoopi Goldberg is talking to Lauryn Hill, and she's like saying something along the lines of, girl, like if you wake up in the morning and all you can think about is singing, then you're a singer. So sing. Like that wasn't the exact line, but like it was something along those lines. So like I was kind of just like flashing back to that as you were sharing and talking. So I think I got 3 ways for people to reclaim their creativity. And so first one is discover your outlet. It can be drawing, painting, playing music, blogging, writing, photography, treatment planning, right? Like there are some creative people that can help other people through a treatment plan. And that can be your creative outlet, right? Making blends of tea. I don't know. That could be something. Solving problems, expressing themselves through fashion, interior design, hairstyle, public speaking, whatever it is. There's so many creative outlets. I totally didn't list all of them. If you think of something that, like James was saying, like that makes you smile, that makes like that speaks within you, that's probably your creativity reaching out saying, hey, like pay attention. Like You can flourish here.
Mhm.
You can grow here,
Mhm.
right? Second, letting go of comparison. Stop comparing yourself to other people. It's not worth it. Yes, you make a cake and this, like, you're following the recipe. Who cares? Like, maybe like get the recipe, but like it didn't quite turn out right. So are you gonna just let it stand like that, or are you gonna like do something to make it turn out
Own it.
different? Okay, that didn't turn out like how the picture showed. Like, what can you do to make it spark and still, right? So letting go of comparison. The sooner you're able to let go of comparison, I think the happier we will be as a people, as a person. Lastly, making time for your creativity, making it a priority in your life. Or if not making it a priority, like we were saying earlier, claim it or recognize it or associate it. Changing the like language in your mind, to recognize it in your life. That's all I got for you guys.
Mhm.
Bam.
Yeah.
There we go, Lamont.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for having us on. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
You guys are so welcome. Thank you for being on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys inspired me, and Leah and I are doing the thing. We're doing it. So,
Yes.
Don't stop either.
if people wanted to find you or get in contact with you, how could they do that?
Well, I would say we do have the Spiritual Rebels and Misfits Roundtable, which is a group on Facebook. So that's like the place where we interact and we talk about what we're up to. And then we are in all of the podcast places as Spiritual Rebels and Misfits. And so people can find us. We have not all of them are uploaded, but we've done 30 episodes so far for the podcast. So there's a ton of juicy stuff that people can dive into, or if they join us on Facebook, they'll be able to like interact and like watch live and ask questions. So
That is
James,
fun.
do you have anything to add to that?
That is fun.
My
Watching
dear?
live and answering questions, it's fun. I haven't been available on Fridays to do that with you guys for a
Yeah,
while.
what's up with
but
that? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
just
So
changing
rude.
schedules and stuff.
It's okay.
But that is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We do miss you. So I would like to mention for especially women out there to find Miss Ashley Bradley, her own group. Can I plug your group, Ashley, or do you want to keep it like
The name
low?
is getting changed, but they could just find me in our group because we're doing a name change. So,
Okay, so I won't drop it, but yeah, definitely the podcast group that she was talking about. We are like on Spotify, Apple, yada yada. And don't be afraid, like if something really resonates with anyone out there and wants to have a private conversation, to find me on my own Facebook page, drop me a message. I love having those private conversations. But the Spiritual Rebels and Misfits Roundtable is like where we're just having conversations,
Mhm.
we're there just as like vessels to get everyone talking and getting everyone acting really weird. So yeah.
Right. So, do you guys have any special projects coming up? So, let me this episode. So, this episode dropped today. Today is March 21st, right, Leah?
I don't know what day it is.
So, this episode dropped today. Today is March 21st. Do you guys have any special projects that
21st.
you want people to know?
I'm trying to think. I usually don't plan my life that far in advance. I mean, I have ongoing things, but I don't think we have anything that's after that date that's actually been planned yet.
Yeah.
I do have a membership it's more focused on people that I consider healers, people that have businesses that are service-based, but that they have some kind of a purpose, and they like blending in their uniqueness and their creativity and how they approach their business. And so I will be launching it, I think, around that time, like officially. And I know that late March is my target. Again, don't have it. I have 2 toddlers, y'all. So the fact that I'm launching anything is a miracle. But yeah, somewhere end of March, I know that I'm like officially doing the grand opening of my membership, the Business Universe. And So we'll just say that that's been something that's been getting a lot of my attention other than my kids lately.
So basically, TBA, to be announced. That is our
Yeah.
life so now, to be announced.
Yes. Yes.
What about you, James? Any speaking engagements that we should be tuning into? Like,
TBA, I mean, again, like, you know, since this is March, what date is it? March 21st?
21st.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see where the world is at tomorrow and the day after that, because, you know, the universe is kind of in charge right now. So the more things open up, the more we'll be planning things.
We're very create in the moment kind of people. Very like, who is our guest in the next few days? We don't know yet. Let's figure that out now. And so we can announce it. That's how we've kind of roll. So high five for being very, very organized, Lamont.
it's a gift. It's a gift. It's a creative gift.
Ashley and I are literally like, we did our last podcast on Friday, and in our private discussion, she's like, I just really see us where we're just going to be talking about like otherworldly beings and such. And I'm like, yes. So on March 22nd, we might just be doing a podcast about like interdimensional beings. And that's about it.
Never know with us.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on today.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Lamont and Leah, Leah, Layla, as she's been called 3 different names throughout this podcast. So we honor all parts of you.
Thank you.
Just had to do it, didn't you?
And for the rest of you guys, thank you for listening. Catch you guys next week. Today's life lesson is you can't please everyone. You don't need everyone to agree with you or even like you. It's human nature to want to belong, to be liked, respected, and valued, but not at the expense of your integrity and your happiness. Other people cannot give you validation that you seek. Let me repeat that. Other people cannot give you the validation that you seek. Stop hustling for worthiness, people, and claim that you're already worthy. That has to come from inside. And that is today's life lesson.